A reason to celebrate planetary solutions and ushering in the golden age of planetary culture, which is what I'm witnessing right now in a seed crystal here in Ubudia. How many people are actual Ubudians who live here? Raise your hand. Okay, pretty good amount. Who's never been here before? This is your first event in Ubud. Awesome, there's some first timers. So I want to start with an experience first to anchor what I'm going to talk about. So I just invite you to close your eyes. You have to stand up, maybe straighten your spine, and really come to fullness in your being. We've been hearing about a lot of epic things that are happening on this planet and how we can be a part of it. And what I'm here to talk about is more of the inside job, the inner technology, the inner activation of your unique gifts and blueprint, known as the flow state. So here's the thought experiment. First, take a huge deep breath in through the mouth. And hold it at the top, sip in a little more. Now stretch your arms all the way up to the sky and just reach up for a download. You're gonna get this golden seed, this pillar of light coming down. It's a download from source, higher consciousness, whatever you relate to it as, it's coming into you. Now I want you to see yourself in a situation, in a past, where you were your best version. Think fourth quarter Kobe Bryant, fourth quarter Michael Jordan. Like your best version of yourself. You have limitless ability, creativity, you're fully physically embodied, emotionally balanced, you're mentally clear, you're like an arrow soaring toward the bullseye. What was that for you? What is that experience for you right now? Take another breath in. If you're still holding, let that one go. Take another one in. And just remember what that was. How did that situation happen? What environment were you in? Who were you around? Did you have a mission, a goal, objective? Were you performing art or music? Were you in a business deal? Were you helping someone? Was it a healing or a powerful moment of clarity? Was it an insight, a phenomenon? And as you exhale, just bring that all the way down through your body, just grazing your forehead, your heart, and bring it down to your belly button. Put it all the way back into your body. And maybe we can share that throughout the day. We don't have time right now because I just want to blast you all with some epic codes, but if you're still holding your hands up, keep downloading. You're welcome to do that. But yeah, that was probably a time where you were in a flow state. This is what I've been studying. I've been a flow junkie for years, and over the past 3 years, through meditation, breathwork, qigong, plant medicine, ordeals, wilderness survival. There's so many different pathways into it. But what I'm here to talk about is how activating your flow state and doing what you're best at and what's most expansive and creative for you is actually what's going to pull all of humanity into a golden age. And Dakota beautifully pointed this out. A lot of us are doing things for money so that we can be in our flow state, right? So maybe you're a painter, you're an artist. You actually get most turned on and you're most contributive and you add the most value to your tribe when you're painting. However, you're working at a restaurant as a waiter, so you can paint, right? And so my thesis that I've lived my life under since I decided to become an entrepreneur, whatever that is, I also agree that entrepreneurship and business may be the best vehicle humanity has right now to actually get solutions grounded. Because we can all sit and hold a collective meditation field and just hope that global governments will vote differently, but that hasn't worked yet on the planet. So we're gonna just go with another thesis. I think that's still important, by the way. What if the times where you were most in flow became the source nexus of everything you did? So all your sexual, emotional, tribal relationships, all of your business, value adds, and tribal, projects, whether that's clean water and food, currency, wealth, eliminating waste, things we've been talking about. What if that all stemmed from your personal flow state? Just hold that kind of equation or experiment in your mind. This guy's not too happy about the drum. Love you, brother. So let me just tell you a little bit about the flow state. So you have the kind of framework and architecture I'm working with. You might have been in a flow state if you experience a sense of timelessness. So have you ever been in a cafe in Ubud? This is pretty standard procedure where you're like, oh wow, 4 hours have gone by. I have no idea what's going on. It's emotional connection, right? Going deep in a conversation, sharing stories. It's a great way to get into a flow state. But these are kind of the 4 aspects of a flow state. One is timelessness. It's a time dilation. A lot of people experience this in sports, high performance activities that are very physical, right? Athletes call it the zone. Time falls away. It's a huge one. The next one is you lose a sense of yourself. So this is a really important part. As Sarah's saying, the ego to we go. When you're in this state of perfect development, creativity, I want to really help you see that this is not just something that like elite athletes get into or entrepreneurs. This is washing the dishes. This is doing laundry. This is walking down the street. This can be anything. It's a state of consciousness that's accessible to us at all times. And a big part of that is actually losing a sense of self, because if you're maintaining your personality and really in your mental part that we call me, it actually uses a lot of cognitive bandwidth and energy. So a big part of that you're in a flow state is that's actually gone. And you see people and they come out of these epic performances or artistic expressions, etc. They're like, whoa, I wasn't even there. My joke with my friends is like, dude, I just blacked out. Like, I was like so epic. Just because you weren't like thinking about, oh, how am I being seen right now and da 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 da. Like, I'm in a flow state right now, by the way. Timelessness, selflessness. The next one is actually a deep sense of meaning making, sense making. So this is a really important one, and this one solves some of the problems that have been touched on, which is a lot of the world's lost meaning. There's a lot of people, especially I think men in the Western countries, that are losing this sense of connection to meaning. And things come up like addiction, depression, suicide. All these things we see are symptoms of actually a deep loss of meaning that our ancestors understood. So the flow state's a way to regain that. And you're in a flow state when you have an inherent sense of meaning making that's connected to your activity, whether it's cognitive, physical, emotional. So that's a big piece of it. And actually, I would say, in my opinion and experience, that's the most important one, that the other ones circulate around. Because there's plenty of activities that are timeless and selfless that we enjoy, but lack this meaning-making part. And so this is where we actually put the flow state to service in business and relationships and on the earth to actually usher in a golden age humanity that's like a new renaissance. So that's number 3. Number 4 is this is a little different than meaning-making, but similar. Your sense of skill, so something you're good at, right? Skill is something that can be trained. There's also innate skills, right? Some of us are just born with some that are stronger than others. Others can be trained. In a flow state, you have this sense that you're at the limit, you're just beyond the limit of where your skill level is. So it's not so hard, whatever you're doing. Again, this can be a deep conversation, this can be archery, this can be yoga, this can be lovemaking, this can be, digging a ditch or like planting a garden in just the right way in the right geometry. I really want you to understand that flow states are not a special elite knowledge. This is actually grounded grassroots human consciousness that creates something like this sacred geometric pattern that we so love in the conscious community. So you have the sense that you're at the very limit of like, this is how good I am at XYZ. I'm just beyond my limit. And so that feeds into the meaning making, because you're like, I'm getting better in this moment, right? And we all love personal development. That's probably why a lot of us are here, is we got into personal development, whether it's through yoga, through meditation, through diet, nutrition, exercise, etc. As human beings, we like to feel that we're getting better just for its own sake, because that feeling of growth is like super healthy to our consciousness and it feels powerful. So that's number 4, is that you're at that skill mastery level. So again, timelessness, selflessness, the sense of meaning making, sense making, and that skill mastery. When these 4 things come into a perfect center point, you can imagine like a quadrant or a wheel, you are going to be in a flow state. So what that exercise was before is, for some of us, it's so obvious to others what our flow state is because they see it and feel it. And this is the next piece of what I want to share is, this is what golden age humanity is, in my opinion. The golden age has existed on earth in many times. I keep going back to this pyramids of Chi mural, which is so beautiful, because the people who built those pyramids worldwide were in this kind of civilization. That's the only way you could reach a pinnacle of architecture, of knowledge, of wisdom traditions, of deep social and societal operating systems that served the earth and the flourishing of human consciousness at the same time. That's like a mass scale flow state. So, 2 things I want you to take away from this brief little TEDx talk here. One is, your personal flow state and like committing to that and sourcing your energy, your financial, emotional energy, your mental energy, your physical energy from that is actually a massive vote in support of Gaia and Mother Earth and in support of humanity as we go through this narrow passageway and birthing process. That's going to be really intense, and already is intense, you know, like we mentioned. Pray for the Amazon. It's on fire right now. The planet's going through a metamorphosis and an equilibrium punctuated burst. That's pretty intense, especially if you're not in a place where you have access to clean water, food, flow state, and community like we do here at Ubud in Bali. Like, this is one of the nexuses of the earth. That's why so many surfers are attracted here. So many yogis, so many entrepreneurs. There's places on the planet which usually are accompanied by ley lines or energetic, you know, veins of the earth crossing that attract community just like this. So it's not a coincidence that you're here. And I want you to understand, and I invite you to understand that your flow state like isn't just a luxury, it's really important. So you can be a gardener, you can be a guru, you can be a professional baseball player, you can be a yoga teacher. It doesn't matter. The important thing is if you go all in on that, you're going to affect the fabric of the community around you. So it's really important that you understand what it is. And I'm laying out a map for you here that I think might be useful. Because you can start to notice, okay, like, and this is the really tricky thing, is that little guy, the ego, little guy or gal, which we love so much, I think actually needs healthy expression in the world to create boundaries, etc. You might think your flow state is one thing, but it's actually something else. So I know I've had this experience, right? Because I've tried on many different hats in my journey. At one point I thought I was going to be a full-on yoga teacher. So that's really like, you know, present for me. I went to India, did the whole training, studied at Iyengar Vinyasa, went to Los Angeles, and I was like, all right, this is my thing, you know, I'm going to do it. And then other things emerged out of that. So actually, I needed community, and this is where the golden age civilization comes in, and what we're modeling here in many ways, is sometimes you need mirrors to understand what you're best at. Because of that little tricky thing about selflessness. So if you lose your sense of self and you're just doing something and you're amazing at it, maybe you're an amazing connector. You're the person that connected every important relationship and business model in your community. That's a type of flow state. I call that like the cosmic broker. This is where like archetypes overlay on here. There's all kinds of flow archetypes, which I don't have time to get into, but there's all kinds of different people. Some people are performers. So they actually are good at being the single one with all the attention to give like a darshan or transmission, and that's their flow state. But meanwhile, they might think they're like a stockbroker, and they think that that's the dope thing. And their friends are like, no, dude, you're actually, this is what you should be doing. And so, you know, a lot of my life has been surrendering and getting out of the way of what the flow state is. That's what I teach to clients. I'm actually almost done with an online course on this, because I think that, you know, for me, it's not like I decided to pick flow states because it was, you know, cool, or like, oh yeah, flow states, that's dope, I'll do that. It's like, no, this is actually a way out of depression. This is a way out of anxiety. This is a way out of confusion in your life. Because massive amounts of resources are lying dormant inside of all of us. Subconscious mind, you know, Bruce Lipton and these fringe kind of scientists that are studying it, it's at least 9,000 times stronger than the conscious mind. So this little nugget here we call the prefrontal cortex, that we call me, and we plan and problem solve. It's not running the show, it's the rudder on the ship. The sails, the oars, all the power of the ship is living below that level, and it's in other parts of the brain and the nervous system. And the nervous system is distributed. So, all that to say, your flow state matters, the way it interfaces with your community matters, and on mass levels, you know, like we got epic people here talking about massive solutions to finance, to waste. Those organizations and institutions and new governance models get to be in a shared flow state. And a group flow state 10x is what's possible. Because an individual in a flow state can have a big impact. It's like, whoa, that guy's really in the zone. Michael Jordan, LeBron James. You know, I love the basketball metaphors. Like I was an athlete in past life in Texas, and I love that stuff. Those guys, their flow state inspires generations. Because like Michael Jordan in Game 6 of the finals in the fourth quarter, everyone's like, oh, the game's over. His flow state's so strong, like people are still rewatching that tape. It's like, whoa. And a lot of you have experienced this in a yoga class or cacao ceremony or static dance, all of which we're going to be doing today. A group flow state actually feels and acts and looks way better. Because any part of you that's not in a flow state, you're like, oh, like Adam's really vibing, or like, he's vibing, let me get in that, like whoosh, and you come out of yourself and pop into the timelessness, pop into the selflessness. Suddenly all the problems you had, all of the issues, all of the malaise, gets washed away in that group synergy field. And it's fun when we're just dancing and doing cacao, but imagine an like an economic forum that's planning in that mode, and they prioritize that. This is transcending like the guru or like president or ego model of the Piscean age, where like one human in a flow state governed everything. The new level is the sacred G, it's the sacred geometry. A network of flow stated humans summons so much consciousness, so much ease, so much performance, so much power, that any solution or action they undertake as a group field is unstoppable. It's gonna look like magic. It is magic. It's like Neo, just like the bullets stop. Because it's so beyond what one human conscious can do. And none of this stuff is new. We just have terminology now with neuroscience and physiology, and all the ancient mystery schools have been poured on your doorstep. It's on your phone on Google right now. You can find out about ancient Egypt and the Mayans and Tai Chi and all the martial arts and plant medicine. It's all here because this is where we're heading. And as a group of humans, like this place alone is filled with so many solutionary leaders and visionaries. We get to, and I think we need to, understand this technology personally at a really deep level, so then we can interface into a massive group together and co-create these solutions for humanity. So this is one of those master maps for me. Like understanding your flow state, and again, those 4 little areas. Like you can do it, I invite you to do an analysis. Sit down in meditation and figure out what it is for you. And you're gonna have multiple, but one of them's gonna hit the bullseye, where time dilation happens, selflessness happens, meaning making, you feel really good when you do it, and skill mastery. The point at which those 4 things coalesce is your flow trigger, and that's your flow nexus. Now, bonus, if you can get paid to do that, if people have a demand for that, if you can add value with that, if that's good for your body, nutrition, mind, I mean, you are cruising. You're cruising. And I think the most successful people on this planet that are in the new age paradigm of the we go are doing this naturally. They may not even know it. And so geeks like me, flow scientists and mystics, get to come in and like kind of audit and be like, oh yeah, like this, and like this is a flow trigger, and like, you know, and I'm inviting and initiating all of you into that now. Most of you are already flow masters and you probably don't even know it, or you haven't put this kind of language to it. So I'm just offering you these little tools so you can language over it, so we can use this kind of energy, the flow energy, which is Tao, you know. I think the ancient Chinese are so ahead of their time, and they influenced the ancient Vedic culture. And like for me, it always comes down to, and I'll end on this, the Tao. It's the Tao. The Tao is the pathless path, and it is that place of maximum force and power, where it's like it can move mountains. It can just like tidal waves of change and power can come from it on any level: economic, political, personal, spiritual. But it's using the least force. There's not any effort. It's this very mysterious void-like energy that just, and that's what your flow state is. As a human being, you have access to it, and the degree to which you access it is going to create the golden age for humanity. Done. Well done.